Boom. Okay. Good morning. Well, yesterday was a quite productive day in terms of going back over the salt and light. Well, basically the back half of the second 24-minute episode. So there was quite a lot of these shots being punched up in various ways. Like one thing that seems to be adding quite a nice bit of production value across the board is to go ahead and have the cast shadow on the characters, and that's of course very, very economical to add. So right there you can see Mel is half in shadow, half not. Well, that's perfectly natural with the moon shining down. And so there was a lot of other stuff I did, but basically that was a big part of it because many, many shots required that. Hey, yo, what's up, man? I'm just working on the show. So in this case, this was a shot where Mel was way off character, and I wound up completely stealing the pose from another part of the show completely, actually. You know, there's room in a show like this for the characters to drift a bit in terms of character. You'll see it right here. Like, you know, there's a little more caricatured. These shots of Luka, though, were actually, it's kind of funny. In all of these shots, Luka's head was too big. Basically, he looked too young. He looked like he was about, I don't know, 6 or 7 years old instead of more like maybe 9 to 11 kind of thing. And what I did was actually took the entire, for one of the shots, I took the entire image sequence, brought it into Blender, mapped it to a plane, and then subdivided it. So you have like chop, 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 chop. You chop this into really small pieces. And then I just did a magnetic, what the Blender calls proportional editing tool, to basically suck the pixels in towards his face, which caused his whole head to shrink. And when you put that over the whole shot, it actually worked. It's kind of amazing. Now this, I think that's what this shot was. I think the first half of this shot was modified in Blender because his head was completely way too big. But then the second part of it, when he turned, actually looked okay. So, and then in these shots going forward, I believe this was actually done in the Blender grease pencil. So I found it kind of interesting that I myself could not tell the difference between shots that were done in Krita versus Tahoma versus Blender. So I guess for those who always seem to ask the same questions of what software to use, the fact is it really doesn't matter. Use one, get something done. That's kind of my rule, I think. So as you can see, we've got these cast shadows sort of throughout. And now we're starting to approach where I'm at, where I'm actually going to be completely redoing a shot. That's why I decided to live stream, is because I'm going to be doing the, I kind of did the pencil test, so I guess basically the ink and paint on, yeah, this shot was definitely the Blender grease pencil. This one right here, where he kind of points out to her that she's got this crap on her face. And then this shot right here is what I'm working on right now, where Mel's this was done a long time ago, and Mel's characterization is just so off that I just can't deal with it. So I decided to come back over here. Now this is interesting because initially this happens a lot. I animated it quite a bit more. So I had him, you know, he's kind of sheepishly over like this, and I had him kind of turn like this and talk to her. And it wasn't that it was bad. It was actually looked pretty good, but it just didn't feel like what this show wants. So I thought, well, okay, you know, I'm always trying to think economically to a degree. So it's like, can I leave him in the same pose and really get the same effect? So his line of dialogue is, look, maybe I was a little harsh too. And then he gives his Mel smile, and then evaluates whether she's buying it, kind of thing, right? And I have to say, once I did it this way, it just feels like Salt and Light. You know, it feels like the show, like what it's supposed to be. So as I'm looking at this critically, what I'm saying to myself is, basically, what animates here? Well, the only thing that animates really is his shoulders and his face. Therefore, and obviously the head is rigid, okay? So I'm thinking strategy here. What that means is I should be able to ink and paint his head as a single either layer or more likely a group, okay? So you can have the ink and paint or ink and color on different layers. But in any case, do the head rigidly, because as you can see, it just rotates rigidly right there. That's it. And the only thing that changes is the face. So the face, the mouth, the eyes should be in a separate layer. So you got a layer for the eyes, you got a layer for the head, possibly a group, but think of it as a layer that has constituent sublayers. And then a layer for the body where you could use liquify to create the shrug. So that means all I really have is one drawing broken into two groups or layers, and then some what I call secondary animation using digital tools to just rotate his head and to also just do the shrug thing. So that's the strategy, that's the plan going forward on this shot. So my normal practice here would be to put Mel in a group, although in this case I think what I'm going to do is I think I'll just go forward with an ink layer, and we'll just call it ink because we'll probably wind up putting it in a group called head. So let's get the head inked, and then we'll go back on another layer and ink the body. So they're inked separately. Then we can put the color in. So that's step one. Step two, add the color. Step three, add the secondary animation. The whole thing, oh, let's take a guess. I'm going to say the whole thing should take an hour. Okay? Let's rock and roll and see what happens. If it does take an hour, that's pretty impressive. An hour for a 10-second shot. Dropping in the background is going to be cake. So, here we go. Ready, friends? And you know, if you're going to do it this way, then let's go ahead and insert a keyframe here on the ink layer. Remember, we're really only inking the first frame. Everything else is going to be secondary animation. So I'm going to hit the Q key and hit the X key to switch to black, Q key to turn on the stabilizer, and then I just want to make sure I get these ink lines crisp. Okay, I'll go ahead and smack in his headband and then plan on erasing back out of it. So 1, 2, 3, and we need to make sure we don't forget the hair behind. I always forget that with Mel. I've had more shots I've had to go back and fix because there was no hair, you know, showing behind underneath the ears. For him, it's kind of crazy, but that's actually a really important part of his characterization. When it's missing, he looks very different to me. I mean, he looks like the same guy, but it's just not the right. So I'm hitting the slash key to basically toggle between my eraser and my pencil. Krita will basically allow you to toggle between two brushes. You know, the last two brushes you used, you can toggle between them. So, okay. Frankly, obviously we're going to have to close that shape right there, but I would say let's just go ahead and put this in a group for clarity and call this head. Okay, and now what we're going to do is just add a new layer, and for now we'll put it on top. That's fine. We'll call this ink as well. And we'll put this in a group as well. And we'll call this group body. Ultimately, of course, the head's going to be on top. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. So now in the ink layer, we'll go ahead and insert a keyframe. And I'll go ahead and allow this to overlap a little bit since it's going to be in fact, I can actually close this shape. It doesn't matter. Okay, so now this is where I don't want to get sloppy on the details. The sort of three-dimensionality of the way the cloth wraps around. This is the kind of little things that can make a pretty important difference in terms of the overall, I don't know, let's call it the sense of quality of the production. Okay, I got a little bit of a hiccup there. Another hiccup. Sometimes, you know, it's like in the movie Shooter, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. Sometimes it really is just better to slow down and get it right. Because what good does it do you to go quickly if you're gonna have to redo it later anyway, right? Okay, and here I would say we'll wrap that around like that. And then I gotta check his garment. I'm pretty sure the blue stripe, well, it's not a stripe, but the blue color on his shirt I think runs all the way down to his waist. I think he has a belt, so I need to find a wide shot. There we go. Like this one. And frankly, I should cut that to the clipboard because I could use that for a color key. Okay, so I already see something I want to change. Back here, that's too high. Okay, so this basically comes down like that, all the way down to there. In this particular shot, we don't see his belt. Maybe a little hint of a wrinkle there. And do we see his other arm? I would say, let's just back off here and take a look. Yeah, I would say so. So the camera's kind of looking down at him a little bit. Let me solo this layer. I want to stop right now. Look at this. This might be a case where, let's turn off the smoothing, Alt Q, switch back to our red pencil, and I'm going to change it. I've had this happen more times than you can shake a stick at. That, you know, it's really crazy how, yeah, really, his shoulder belongs over there. Okay, you know, you scribble the darn thing in, and it feels good, but once you get in there and start doing the ink and paint, you realize, it might have been a little sloppy. So, B key. Y. Okay, that was weird. This didn't update. So I was on a black brush, even though the color was showing to have selected red. So call that a bug in Krita for sure. It's kind of important that the interface updates when you invoke your tools. Okay, so I'm going to actually draw a center line down here. I'm going to say his collar. So this is where drawing through the character really is pretty smart. You want to... hey, Amar. Get your Discord set up to post when you're live so it'll automatically let people know. I know. Can't believe it's summer already. Well, yeah, 80 degrees. We've been getting the garden in. So I think that'll work. So I'm just going to make these mods because if I get it right at this stage, then I won't pay later. Now I'm going to basically ignore all the other keyframes because at this point going forward, his arm's going to be in the wrong position for all the other frames I drew, as you can see. That doesn't matter. All we have to do is get this first pose right, and everything else is going to be basically cake. And that, I think, will work. Okay, so the only thing that's bugging me, why don't we flip the darn thing and have a peek? Okay, okay. Yeah, this is kind of the classic three-dimensionality issue. Okay, we know that wraps around like that, so this is going to kind of fall that way. Okay, I think we're good. This feels a little low to me. Alright, M key to flip it, N key to see the actual size, and it certainly could be argued that the head in general is slightly large. And I think I do want to fix that, because one of the things I've been meaning to do is start applying rule of thirds and more cinematic framing a little bit more rigorously. So, what does that mean? Well, it means that this whole layer is too big. Hello? Wrong layer there, Jack. So that's okay. Again, all we care about is getting this right, because everything else is just going to be a modification of it going forward. Okay, here, let's not be stupid. Let's just hit GE and erase all of this and start over. Just get rid of it. Get rid of it. Don't fight it. This part all actually looks pretty good over there. So back to the brush, and X key back to black, and slash key. We do not want the eraser at the moment. Cool beans. Okay, boom. All right, and here, maybe to accommodate the look of that other arm, we'll go ahead and drop the armband just a tiny bit. Eraser. Cool beans. Alright, 5 key. Let's turn the pencil test off. It's still in the timeline, so we can see where the keyframes are supposed to be. And as I can see, I forgot couple lines there. No big deal. Let's erase that. And I would say let's touch that up that way. Okay, and this, let me think about this for a second. Okay, classic case. I didn't think about this. But yeah, this is one of those cases where you've got the head is in front of the body, but the hair is behind the head. So that means we're actually going to have a third layer. But that's okay. We can ignore that for the moment. What I will say is, let's take this little bit right here. Is that the body layer? That's not. Oh, wait. There. X, V. So I want to actually put that in a separate layer, and that was supposed to continue to there. That's fine. And this obviously has a little fly in it. Cool. All right, now we can Control V. Oh, sorry. My bad. Undo. I forgot I had done the whole clipboard thing here within Krita. So there's our color key. A. We'll just move that somewhere over here where it's not going to cause a problem. Okay, so this is, we're going to call this hair. And then so that I'm not driving myself crazy, I'm going to take the head group and the body group and reverse them. Like so. Just because that makes more sense, and frankly the hair should be down below. So I'm approaching this as a I don't know if around here if it's that humid, but if you're, I mean, you're near Lake Michigan, so obviously you're going to be probably getting a little bit more. I am going to stick to my normal guns here and do a CLR layer. Okay, so this is the color key. This color key should actually be up on top there. And now let's turn the head group off completely so we can see what the heck we're doing. And it may or may not matter to put in an animation key, but why the heck not? So let's just go, let's hit the fill tool, go here. We don't need to be in behind mode because obviously everything is behind in another layer. So let's just get this stuff smacked in there quick as we can. I'm going to refer back to the show here real quick though. I want to just make sure this, in this color key, his, yeah, okay. I was going to say his armbands are kind of a grayish olive color, but in the other parts of the show, they're more of a bold green, but that's basically the show takes place over 2 days, if you will. And he has 2 wardrobes is the long and the short of it. So that takes care of that. What is this? Yep, that's right. That's the right color. Okay, cool. So I'm going to just take and create a darker version of that and smack that in there. That'll be okay. And then we'll just go in and do a little hand painting. Okay, so other than adding shadows, the body is good. So let's go ahead and add the SHD layer. When I said I'm approaching this like a home improvement project where you just really make sure you get all your tools laid out and ready to go before you start. It seems like creating a layer or custom palette with the name would make this easier for you. Well, to quote my hero Stephen J. Cannell, how easy do you want it to be? If I can jump over to the show and click this button and cut a color key to the clipboard and know that what I'm bringing in here is exactly what's in the show, not only in the show, but in the show at this point in time under these lighting circumstances, that takes 2 whole seconds. You know, I don't know how much faster you really want that to be or how much easier you would make it. So obviously I'm being a little sarcastic, but I mean, that's the reality of it. When I do a color key, that's really what I'm doing. I'm just grabbing colors that I know are going to work and then smacking them in there. Every time somebody talks to me about using palettes and shit like that, I try to tell them I've done it. When I started this show, I actually had a very complicated multi-tab palette situation in Tahoma, and people don't understand because they're not doing large projects. They don't understand it. Yeah, it seems like that would be better until you actually do it, and then you start running into a lot of exceptions to the rule, where what should be easier turns out to backfire in a big way, and you wind up, all that preparation turns out to be pretty much for nothing. So I'm not disparaging the use of things like character model sheets or color keys. Of course it's useful. But once you're into production, just taking a snapshot from another shot in the same scene is certainly an easy way because you just sample the color. I mean, there's nothing to it. So that's my contention, and I'm sticking to it. Okay, so let's turn the body off, and now we'll just go boom. This is going to be the ink layer. Now I want to actually, it's a little crazy because I'm going to have to animate the hair layer manually is what I'm going to have to do. So what I'm going to do is actually take this and move it down here for now and put it in its own group, and we'll just call it back hair because there's just no way around it. Whenever you have a situation where something is both in front of and behind something, you know, there's nothing you can do except just work with it. So in other words, there's no way to, now you could do it in Tahoma, by the way, with the schematic, but in Krita, there's really no way to create animation keys on the head that automatically also affect the hair. Actually, there is a way. Come to think of it, I just thought of it. What we'll do is we'll put the hair here and we'll go ahead and animate them together. And then when, and that way the animation keys will be baked into the layers. And then when the whole layer, when the whole shot is done, then move the hair to the back. There you go. Problem solved. Okay, boom. So now what we want is a color layer. CLR. We'll move this down like so. Fill tool. And I guess this should technically be up here. Okay. Flesh tone, boom. That's going to accidentally fill in the area up top. So let's zip in here, grab that color. B key, we'll just fill that in right there, and boom, done. Okay, cool. All right, so yeah, if you have the colors from the character sheets, you can still use the swatches. It's the same thing. Well, the problem with swatches is simple. It works for one scene under one set of lighting conditions. The fact is that there are many different lighting conditions in a show, and there's also changes of wardrobe. So what's the downside? The downside is you wind up with this palette that's got 8 million colors to accommodate. This is actually true with a lot of things about animation, where the organizational aspects of it, doing it this way or that way, seems like it should work better. But what happens is, and palettes are a great example of it, is you wind up with an unwieldy situation very, very quickly, actually. It's the same thing I see in the Blender grease pencil. When I use the Blender grease pencil, if you want the flexibility to do this sort of hybrid frame by frame and rigged animation that the grease pencil suggests you would probably want to do, it's all fine, it's all good, and it all works. But be aware that you can be into a fairly trivial scene before you wind up with a grease pencil layers or palette that are unwieldy. They're so long, and it's the same thing I've alluded to dealing with Blender in the past, talking about the fact that what happens is most of your production time, what does it go to? What are you actually doing with your moments? It turns out you're using most of your moments to navigate the outliner and find stuff. That's what happens. That's where all your time winds up going. Just finding stuff so you can then do something with it. So finding the sweet spot of what I would call working flat. The extreme version of working flat would be all your ink, all your color, everything's all in the same layer. That's working flat. That has its own downsides. What I do here in Krita pretty much is the sweet middle ground, you know, where generally you do have groups, but I don't ever get a stack that goes down to here. It just doesn't happen. It's usually, sometimes it gets about 2/3 of the way down. But if I have to start making navigation what my life is about, I'm not interested at that point. It's not any fun anymore. So I say that in kind of strong-ish terms because, believe me, I've been down this road and I've looked very carefully at it. All right, so the hair situation is, for now, what we're going to do is just one little caveat here, which is we're just going to have a separate hair color. We're just going to have a separate color layer. Oops, I didn't mean to create a new layer. I meant to move this down. Okay, so there it is. We'll kill the body, grab the hair, go here, and fill that. Okay, so now we have everything we need to actually animate this scene. Other than the shadows. Let's put some shadows on Mel. Boom. SHD, G key, alpha locked, and again the usual shenanigans of putting a shadow there. And I think for this shot we can maybe put a tiny, nah, I'm not even gonna do that because he's gonna have a cast shadow too. Okay, so you'll see here shortly. If we take the whole kit and caboodle like this, let's put it up above. And what I've been finding I've been doing on many of these shots is quite literally just going like this, you know, something like that. And then you alpha lock it. And then you wind up adding this cast shadow to the whole shot. And it really, it's kind of crazy. It adds a lot of production value for almost no time. It just punches it up a little bit. And in many cases, it really doesn't matter if you just let the body slide out from under the shadow, because in the real world, that's actually what happens, right? Shadows don't go with you. But anyway, so there it is. But I'm going to leave that turned off for now. All right, let me go through and I want to do a quick check to see if anything is not pinned to the timeline. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to animate his body, and we're not going to even worry about the face. So for reference, it probably makes sense to put the pencil test actually on top instead of on the bottom. And then we'll just turn it back off for now. Okay, so in the pencil test, we can see where the keyframes are. Gosh, it might be smart to turn it on so that it's a little easier to see, and then just turn the opacity of it down. So I know that these are where my, well, I guess I need it in there so I can see what I'm doing here. It's so his shoulders are in the up position-ish, and they kind of fall, and then he shrugs again, and then that's the rotation of his head. Okay, cool. So I'm going to say it's obviously critical that every layer has at least one animation keyframe, or else they will not inherit the keyframes that I might apply to the group. Oh, hair needs to be pinned to the... See, I don't understand why that layer would have been chosen to not be pinned to the timeline when all the other ones I created were. Kind of weird. Kind of weird. Okay, this folder, it turns out, is nothing. So as you can see, what we're going to do is we're going to bake animation keys into the character, and then when everything's done and complete, we'll take the layers for this little bit of hair and go ahead and put it to the bottom of the stack so that it's behind his body. And that will do the trick. But for where the animation keys go, it needs to be included with the head. Okay, let's go to the body and look at what we're going to do here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go forward to the second frame and give myself kind of a utility frame here, because I'm not convinced that that's not actually, I don't think we're in the high or the low position here, okay? As far as a shrug goes, he's neither fallen and he's not shrugging either. He's kind of right in the middle, and actually for the beginning of the scene he needs to be in the up position. So A key, let's liquefy this. Hopefully this is still in. Yep, okay, stop. That's not what we want to do. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and say, and see, by having them in separate groups, you can see that I don't have to worry about distorting his head, which is kind of nice. And in fact, I could even take his head and adjust its overall position if I decide, because right now it seems like he's kind of like this. He's leaning forward maybe a little more than he should be. So I'm just going to kind of give myself a moment here to do a little fine tuning. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to go here. Just a little tiny change. So you can kind of make the argument for You know, transform masks or more powerful tools like the plastic tool. But honestly, for something that only involves a couple keyframes, I generally seem to do better. Just bake it in, baby. Okay, one thing I see here. Okay, here. Okay, yes. This should be, let's take this and raise it up just a skosh. Okay, and then obviously that's introducing a problem at the bottom of the screen, unfortunately. Okay, and then here, yeah, here we kind of missed this. I use the term we loosely since we is me. There we go. Okay, so now we've got the shrug. So the good news is that means that now we can take these three keys, control drag them here, and then this key, control drag it here, and the shrug is done. See, things are starting to happen fast now. Okay, let's go to the head. Again, the head is rigid. We'll go to the first frame. I'm just going to leave the first frame in there. I can always cut it out when I edit the movie. I can always just, or the show, I can just remove the first frame. So let me say here that we want to just do a free transform, and if we do it this way, actually that looks better, and we may not have to worry about putting the back of the hair actually behind him, as a matter of fact. Okay. So if the head, we want this to be very subtle. Head group. Seems to me it's not really going to move that much. Most of the movement is in his body. You could argue for a counter movement, like in fact, I think I should do that here. When he shrugs here, it would make sense for the head to maybe come down a little bit. Okay, we'll keep going. Okay, and here it's just one of those 8 frame per second snap moves, slightly up, and then his expression changes. So the animation part of it is done. All I need to do now is deal with his facial expressions in his mouth. So that's a good thing. Yeah. So let's give it a review, shall we? What did I say? I said this was going to take about an hour, didn't I? We're at 39 minutes, so the animation part. Look at that. Okay. Let's go ahead and add a new layer. There's no point having it in the head group, frankly, because actually, let's make this eyes, not face. Because his mouth, I want to do his lip sync separately anyway. So let's go insert. Okay, so let's turn the pencil test on. And now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add a transform mask to the pencil test for the purpose of just moving it off to the side. So I can have it over here, full volume, and I might as well flatten the layer so I don't have to deal with Krita having to deal with the performance penalty of the transform mask. So now that transformation is baked into the character, as you can see, and it serves as a great reference. Okay, boom, done. Eyes. Okay, the eyes. Let's go ahead and boom, go to full screen mode. actually, B key, I better double check my color. Yep, I'm good. Okay. Okay, what's wrong? We're probably in erase mode. Yep. Okay. I'm scribbling over it to feel where this needs to be. Nope, that's too low. Now, of course, I could use the free transform to adjust that. Nope. Okay. Boom, buddy, boom, boom. Now, I guess we'll do it this way so I can see what the heck I'm doing. Okay, Amar says, when you're animating any shot, you already have all the swatches from the character model already there, but everyone has to be right. You have the base colors and the lighting conditions are just effects. You can, well, of course, right. Everything you're saying is stuff that, of course, I'm well aware of all that stuff. The basis of the debate, of course, is simply this. Is this way of working somehow inferior? And, you know, to a degree it is. But at the same time, I kind of stand by my snarky question, which is, geez, how fast do you want? And as you say, everybody's got their own way to work. Okay, so here we've got... Okay, so now what we need to do is let's look at the pencil test. So the pencil test, he just falls. So here, we're going to have to do a slight droppy poo. Slight droppy poo. Okay. Yep. Okay, so here, I guess we had that. Boom. Here. I'm just kind of going with what, like right there, that would make Mel look too young. Right? Okay, let's go back here. Okay, so we got the animation, but here, actually, this should be a blink. I'm surprised I don't have a blink in there. So, let's put in a blink, friends. Alright, GE, I'm just going to erase this. Let me see what happens. Looks to me like it looks like the, what am I trying to say? It looks like the eyebrow positions don't change. You know, and you'll forgive me, Amart, for being a little snarky. There's questions and things that come up. You know, I'm just trying to get my work done, you know. And there's things that come up from time to time where I just go, you know, what I think is, geez, man, you know, show me your 48-minute cartoon and then, you know, tell me how your workflow's better, you know. Now, I don't really... I don't think you're saying your workflow is better. You're just kind of pointing stuff out. So I don't take it in a bad way at all. Here, yes. Okay, so what we need to do. I guess we need to just hit the hit the white here. And I probably don't want to be in behind mode anymore. I love behind mode. It makes so many things easier, and I accidentally switched to multiply. Sorry. So I need to actually sample this color over here. That was stupid of me. Because, you know, between you and me, we both know that most of the people that are ever going to watch this video, they're not going to do, you know, anything even close to this. They're just not, you know. So at the end of the day, all the discussions that come up here in the chat about methodology are almost all just noise. It's just noise. Because it's not like anybody's actually doing it anyway. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be overly cynical or anything, but I mean, that's just the truth of the matter. I have to say that I'm increasingly, especially because if you look at the views that Salt and Light gets, it's nothing, man. You know, like it's like 30 views on the latest episode. People just don't care. You know, nobody's grabbing it. I understand that because it's a product for a different place than here. It is not a YouTube product. It's something that I'm very confident will be much better received and its place is really in a more conventional distribution space. It just is. I really feel strongly about that. My customer is not YouTubers. My customer is not even consumers. My customer is the network platform or distributor that ultimately I deliver a show to. And I only say that to you because you know you're kind of in my age range and you understand where I'm coming from a business standpoint. I don't think that you can really have any illusions about that. Okay, this, yep, I can't reuse that blink, unfortunately, but here's a blink. Here's a blink, my friend. Actually, I guess I could use my eraser, like so. You know, when this is done, it's not going to be an hour. It's actually going to be close. It's probably going to be an hour and a half, but an hour and a half for 10 seconds of finished animation. Okay. That's kind of hard to argue with. In my book. Call me cocky. I don't really care. All right, let's turn on the skins. I'm thinking maybe with the skins on, I'll be able to see what I'm doing a little better. This is basically, this is kind of Charlie Brown eyes we're doing here, and that's very much by design for this particular shot. It still wouldn't matter because you have to find the best way that works for you. Yes, your resume or track record has weight, but still someone did have input. Well, correct. I mean, everybody's opinion is valid. That's for sure. But in the case of this sort of coloring methodology or whatever, you know, obviously the snarky starting point question was, you know, how much faster do you want it to be, you know, and this actually is going to be, I would say, I'm going to smack those up really high and get rid of this and then not be in erase mode. Okay, little M key. Okay, the eyes are a little low on his head. There's a case to be made for saying, you know what, it makes him look slightly more juvenile, but I think not. There, that's about right. Okay, and then he goes to this expression. I want to get rid of that. Let's turn the skins back on for a moment. Okay, M key. Just want to see if there's any flagrant imbalances. Seems to be okay. And again, I think we'll put the eyelids in here. As I stated, we're kind of doing the Charlie Brown kind of thing. Okay, cool beans. It's not totally a speed thing, it's an organization thing for me. Well, correct. My organization is, I've got this timeline, and anytime, any place, I can take a frame and go like that, and copy to the clipboard. Oh, instant palette. Palette problem solved. Okay, mouth, M-O-U-T-H. Okay, let's go ahead and insert a key here, and then go like this. And then let's just work backwards. So this is going to be, and by the way, let's turn these skins back off. Okay. I don't like that one line right there. I don't like that line at all, do I? I do not. No, I actually found a guy, I actually friended a guy on Facebook yesterday who has a channel here on YouTube where he's doing interviews with creators. Well, he's actually going to do an interview with Ed Hooks in like a week or something. And, but he had interviewed a guy named Denver Jackson. Denver Jackson, kind of an Asian American, I think. I mean, that's an American name-ish, but he's clearly Asian, and he does have a bit of an accent when he speaks, so I assume he's maybe a first-generation immigrant or something. But anyway, but yeah, Denver's got a show that, or a movie. He's done full-length animated movies, and the quality of what he's doing is not very far from Salt and Light, to my eyes. It's you can argue where it might be a little better or it might be a little worse. But the thing that jumped out at me was that he doesn't have that many views either, really. So I'm just kind of thinking out loud here, but it seems to me that I think I naively did think that the cool factor of the one-man studio to a degree would sort of carry the day here on YouTube, and I see that I was just dead wrong. It's just completely wrong. People really don't care about that. It's utterly meaningless. You're better off to do YouTube Shorts or something funny, or whatever, if you want to make YouTube your target, as it were. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. Okay, let's go to the mouth layer, and then let's go... Oopsie poo, wrong color there, Jack. All right. So he says, look. Okay. Do we want to adjust for that? Yeah, maybe a little bit. Boom. Boom. The point of the story is that I'm comfortable with the fact that people don't care, because I know ultimately who my customer is. My customer is the distributor I'm delivering a product to. His name was Denver Jackson. I believe it was Cloud Rise. I think Cloud Rise is the name of his channel, so bear with me for half a second, because I went ahead and subscribed to him just so I wouldn't, just to bookmark it, you know. And of course, YouTube is not giving me my list of subscriptions. Instead, it's giving me all the wonderful suggestions. Okay, here it is. Yeah, Cloud Rise Pictures. Look up Cloud Rise Pictures. Here you go. There he is, Cloud Rise Pictures. So it's he, you know, in terms of visual impact, it looks pretty good, but once you see things start to animate and move, you can kind of see the cracks start to show in terms of the overall quality of the experience. And you know, it is what it is. The interesting thing about it to me is it really wouldn't take that much work to, you know, just punch it up a notch. You know, take the resource or the assets that he currently has on his shows and you know, kick it up a bit. Okay, so let's go G key, insert. All right, let's turn on the okay. I think we actually want this to be every 2, so maybe I was a little, and actually let's put this here and let's make this, I'm going to go ahead and allow myself a hint of English. This is going to be the small mouth. Okay, let's see how that worked. Maybe I was a little harsh too. Okay. Insert. Okay. Go back to the eyes. Probably something like that. B key in behind mode. He's a little sheepish today. And by the way, geez, Dave, it wouldn't be a bad idea to save your freaking work so you don't wind up. Okay. Fan stuff are cool, and homonym or novelty stuff does better for animation. Well, yeah, like I said, on YouTube, if YouTube's your target, then I think that the answer is you do shorts and you just basically try to make people laugh. And it's a beautiful thing. I mean, if you can do it, it's a great thing to do. Okay, shadow 2-layer GE. Actually, we don't want to be in erase mode. Let's get rid of that little hiccup there. And look at that. That's a darn good looking shot. All right, let's take the mouth and let's tone it down a little bit. Let's find the sweet spot there. Okay, and then we need to drop in the foliage in the background, which I'm pretty sure, well, gosh, is that what's in the original? So let me go find the original shot on the timeline. 727. Yes, this is definitely not the correct background image, so that's okay. Let me just go. I'm pretty sure, just from going way back to when I was smacking this stuff out in Tahoma, pretty sure that this background is in here somewhere. Just looking for some foliage. Give me foliage or give me death. That's what I'm talking about. Where is that foliage? I can always steal it from another Krita file. I guess it should be coming up here, because this is towards the end of the show, as a matter of fact. So I probably should have started at the bottom. I am not seeing it. Okay, that's fine. Let's go back to Krita And let's say, I'll bet you it's going to be in 730. So let's pull up 730. Watch this. This is going to be easy peasy. 730. There it is. Yep, there it is. So that's an ancient drawing of Mel. That is what. This is the second shot in the sequence that I'm currently correcting by getting him more on character. So all I have to do is smack in the background, and this shot is done. And in point of fact, there it is. And how long did it take? It took 1 hour and 1 minute. So I told you. So the pencil test took about, 15 minutes. That's why I live streamed, because I figured, okay, this is coming together. Let's go ahead and do it. So yeah, here you have 10 seconds of show in just over an hour. Look, maybe I was a little harsh too. Look at that. And then we come back here. And this is what I'm after, man. This is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to figure out ways to really get the production cycle under control. I just really believe this is possible. Because the next thing that happens is she says, "You think?" Right? That's a great shot. Needs that cast shadow though. So anyway, that's it. This was a good session. I don't want to start a new scene yet. And so with that, I'm going to sign off. Looks like he's trying to do something on an airbender vibe. Hey, what are you referring to there? Because I actually had a friend yesterday, was the second person to say to me that the thing that Salt and Light reminded them of was Avatar. I'm like, well, that was kind of what I was trying to do. It's a little choppy for some of the animation, but it's clean. If it does look like something I could see on TV based on style. Right, exactly. That's what I think. Are you talking about... Oh, you're talking about the other guy. You're talking about the cloud guy. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, it's not bad. It is choppy. I think that's the main thing everybody responds to is the choppiness of it. And... yeah, I'm really happy with how this shot came out. Mel is way more on character. The animation is nice. The acting's solid. I'll pop that in the show. And we'll be good to go. So that's shot number 127. Control R. Did I say... I think I just said 120. Did I? I don't know what I said. It's supposed to be 727. 727 period. Ping sequence. And I guess we could go ahead and smack it into the show and then call it good. Another thing you could do to punch this shot up a little bit would be to go ahead and put a rim light behind him too. That would, little things like that, like the cast shadow, that it really, really punches up the production value. IMHO. Now, one thing I did forget is I have been putting a 5-pixel Gaussian blur on the cast shadow, so I probably should do that. Gaussian blur. It is quite subtle, but you can see it's a thing. So let's save our work. Render that. While that's rendering, I will take a sip of my tasty beverage. And then, I guess everybody in America is trying to emulate The Last Airbender, right? Because it was a good show. It was a good show. Honestly, there's things about it that I still that I find a little boring or maybe not as good as it could have been. But you can't argue with the marketplace success. That's for sure. Pretty much indisputable. So let's grab this sequence here. Friends. Oh, it looks like it already popped it in. But the problem is, yeah, this is playing at 24 frames per second. So this needs to be 8 frames per second. And I do believe disable resampling. So actually I thought I was going to have to re-import it, but I guess not. Let's see what we get. Whoa, that flows nicely, man. I gotta say. Let's just go back here. She pulls off the disguise. She says, "You peasant." That explains a lot. So she wipes that off, and then here's the shot. Actually, let me check this background. Yep, it works. It works. Golly, this is looking good. I'm glad I framed this a little wider than I originally planned to. That looks more cinematic. Dang, that's an improvement. Now, yeah, so you've got and this is just chopped way too tight. Ugh, God, that's horrible. So this is what we want. If we could capture that in every shot in the show, we would be having a good show going on. So this shot will have to be done next, which we will be able probably to a degree to base on this one, but yeah, we'll see. If I can smack it out in an hour, what's the problem with just redoing the shot, right? So anyway, that's it. I'm done for now. Thank you for the thank you, Amar, and as you guys know, there will be